Okay. First, I would like to say, Mao Zedong.
Thank you for making this not family appropriate right off the bat.
We just got owned by China. And this is how it happened. So we came to Shanghai. And we were like, we want to go to Harbin. And my roommate was like, okay, let's go get some tickets. So we went and we got the tickets, right? And it was fine. And there's no people. And I was like, wow, that's great. But I should have known that that means we're gonna get later. Anyways, we get the tickets. And we notice at the bottom, do we still have the tickets?
I don't know, do we still have the tickets? No, I think he nods out with them.
Okay. We got these tickets, and at the bottom there's little Chinese, and it had a 5 on it. And it means that you can use the tickets for 5 days. This is after the date of when you're leaving.
This is how this is explained to us by Hector, Nathan's roommate.
It's like, yeah, it'll be fine. You can just go whenever. And we're like, why? And he's like, well, you might not come on the first day, so they just save your stuff. And like the fools we were, we accepted this. Anyways, so we go.
I'll give specifics for this. Like, we bought tickets, train tickets for the 28th. For the 28th of January. It is currently the 31st of January. When we bought the tickets, our friend Hector said, well, it's the 28th, but look, see, here, this says 5 days. It's a 5-day ticket. You can get on a train to Harbin 5 days, up to 5 days after the date printed on the ticket. And yeah, we believed him, unfortunately. So we went to Rudong and passed the New Year and had a great time. And while we were there, we organized our trip back to Shanghai so we could go to Harbin, so that we would arrive in Shanghai on the 30th, spend a night, and then get on a train the next morning, which is today. So all that happens. We get to the Shanghai train station this morning, and what goes down, Nathan?
So everything's going good. Of course. We go through the little door or whatever. We give the people our tickets at the first door, and they're like, yeah, fine, whatever, go through. We're like, cool, because they never check if you have tickets anyways. Go through their security. Go up the escalator, find where we gotta go. Sit down, get all situated, in the mental state that things are gonna be fine.
Never a good idea in this country,
you know. Never a good idea. Yeah, I'll get to that later. Anyways. And then people start leaving. And Evan asked one of the people, is this going to Harbin? And the guy's like, no, it's going to a different place. And we're like, oh, well then we'll just wait for ours. And then people start going further, and we waste some time sitting, just kind of like...
This is at 8:55 in the morning. Our train is supposed to leave at 9:25, so I'm like, half an hour before our train leaves. It seems like we should be boarding. And yet this man says that he's getting on a train to a different city.
And so I'm like, I'll just ask the lady at the front. And so I went up and I was like, excuse me. She didn't acknowledge my presence. So I tapped her on the shoulder and she was like, what? I was like, is this line going to Harbin? She's like, yes, of course. I was like, oh. Well then let's get on. And so we get in the line. and we're walking, and I pull out my ticket, and I'm all like, I'm not even thinking. I'm just like, here's the ticket, getting on the train, and I hear the moment of failure. Whoa! No! And she says, what is this? This is for the 28th. Today's not the 28th. And I was like, yeah, but then she's like, shut up. Blah, 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 blah. And I get like 3 words, and I'm like, please slow down. And she's like, blah, 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 blah. And more people are flooding in behind us. And Evan comes up at this point, and I think he's felt the aura.
I knew it was taking
he looked
too
at
long.
my face, and he knew. And it just dropped. It's like, and I saw the fear in his eyes, and it was confirmed. And so we were like, okay, not good. So we tried to talk to this woman, and she was like, yeah, no. Which is basically what we got. And she's like, okay, you have to go to this place. Just go to this place. And we were like, where is it? She's like, just go to this place. How do you get there? Go. And so after asking like 50 times, she was like, oh, Qianmian, which means front. And I was like, alright, we got a general direction.
This is how Chinese people give directions. If you ask them where anything is, they will just say, they'll give you a maximum of 2 turns, and then they'll say, walk straight. Walk straight. That's all they'll say.
Yeah, so she was just like, and I was like, okay, I'll go. And I ran, and I had the word that she told me to go, like the name of the place, and so I was just like, when I get to this place, just asking random people, and they're like, they all said the same thing. Because there's only one person in China. In different permutations. Anyways, I found the police, and I was like, how do I get to this place? And the police looked at my ticket, and they're like, this has no use. And I was like, okay. So I went back, and I was like, it has no use. And everyone was like, no, try it again. And I was like, okay. And I went back, and I found the actual place, and I walked up to the lady, and there was like 2 other people. I was first in line, and this guy was just like hit me out of the way. It's like, ha! I have a problem. And I was like, okay, get out of my way. And I pushed him out of the way, and I showed the lady my tickets, and she was like, no use. No use. And I was like, okay. And I told her in Chinese, I want to exchange these because of the 5-day thing. And as I was talking, she was just looking at me. She's just like, no use. No. And she took the tickets and she just threw them back in my face, basically. She took them and she slammed them into my chest and she said, it's no use. Get out of here. So I went back, defeated. And the lady at the ticket desk, she was like, did you find it? All happy. And I was like, no. And she was like, oh well. Because I guess she just doesn't care.
These tickets, each ticket costs 500 kwai, which is roughly a month's food on my budget. Just for a little context.
So I went back and I was like, we're done. It's over. And Evan was like, no! No! And so we took our bags.
I was pissed.
Evan was pissed. I was pissed too. But I didn't want to kill anyone yet. Anyways, we went back to the place. And I waited off to the side because if I stood too close, they'd definitely not give us any seats. Just looking at me, apparently, is just
automatic invalidation.
Yes. So Evan goes up, looking less like a rich American, and he just yells at these people in Chinese. It's just like, bam, bam. I didn't really hear because I didn't want to stand too close, but he's gesturing. And he's like, no, no, no. And maybe you can tell him what you said. I don't know what you said.
Basically, I was just like, you need to give us tickets. If you're not gonna give us if you're not just gonna let us get on this train, since we paid our money, then you need to either sell us discounted tickets or do something. There has to be a way for us to get on this train.
And this is like 5 minutes away from them closing the thing, so I've already given up. I'm punching a wall in the corner. And so eventually they just gave up, and they were like, okay.
I scared them.
He scared them. Yelled at them in English and Chinese, and the buffalo were frightened. Anyways, they gave us a stamp and some scribbles. And they're like, okay, let's go. And we went, and we gave it to the lady, and she's like, oh yeah. Wang Qian Mian Zao.
That's great, that's good.
Okay. So we get on. And what the people had said before was that there are no seats and no beds. And when we get on the train, it's practically empty. And so we get onto one of the beds, which as you can see we are not on right now. And we lay down, get all situated and comfortable. Once again, not a good idea ever in China. Ever. Okay? And I'm dozing off, and this guy's like, tickets. And I feel it again. I feel it again. Part 2. He asked for the tickets. And he took our tickets and he said, oh, you guys need to move down a little bit. And so we moved down a little bit. And he said, oh, you guys don't get beds. And we're like, why? And if you look around, there's a lot of Chinese people looking at me right now. Go ahead, look at, turn around, right there. There we go. They're looking at me. Because I'm crazy right now. They're looking at me anyways. That baby's been looking at me for like an hour. Anyways. Baby. He takes our tickets and he's like, go to the 6th car. So we walk down, and all the beds are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, bigger. The dining whatever, the dining car. And then the next car is this. This is a 33-hour train ride. Not to mention the fact that every single one of these beds that were getting bigger and bigger and bigger was empty. Yes. So, I'm going to have a slight case of osteoporosis and dead Chinese people. I'm going to kill someone by the end of this trip. Thank you for your explanation. We have beds. It took... What time we get on this train? 9:30 in the morning. 9:30. And it is currently 9 p.m. It took us damn near 12 hours. But we got beds.
You redoing it?
I should explain how we got beds. Okay. So, like Knight said earlier, our tickets expired, basically, based on some magical rule that everybody knew about, but nobody could show us. It wasn't on the ticket. Apparently, these tickets come in 2 parts. It's 1 piece of paper, but it counts for 2 parts. There's the part where you lie down, and there's the part where you get on the train. I suppose I should reverse the order. There's the part where you get on the train, and the part where you lie down. And apparently, if you don't get on the train on the same day as printed on the ticket, then you forfeit your right to the bed.
you can still get on the train. The get on the train part is still good for 5 days, apparently, but you can't get into bed. But it doesn't say that on the back of the ticket. I know, because I spent an hour and a half translating the back of the ticket, all the rules. And then I spent another, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, discussing with the people, with the train people, saying, this ticket, nowhere on this ticket does it say that we forfeit the right to our bunks if we don't get on the train on the first day. And they were like, no. My fun. They were like, no. And nobody could explain why it was that this was the case. And finally, they get out this rule book. It's like 600-page train rule book. We're stopped. 600-page train rule book, and he starts looking through it. On page 7, in Chapter 4, Article 2, does clearly state that if you don't get on the train on the first day, then you forfeit your right to a bunk. However, this information is not readily available to the public, so I wasted 2.5 hours arguing with this dude about it instead of him just showing me the book in the first place. Then Nate and I sat around defeated for a long time, complaining about how we'd been pinned and whatnot. And then Nate was like, screw it. I'm just gonna upgrade our tickets. And that cost us not quite half as much again. Total, wait, how much was it total?
It was 316.
Okay. No, so it was 316 for both of us to upgrade to bunks from the hard seat that we had been set in, while it was 466 for one ticket. So what's that, 900 and something. I can't do math. You get the point. We get to sleep now. I'm happy.